Orange team.
Hey guys, I'm Spider-Man.
I'm Bob.
I'm Iron Man.
And I'm Captain America.
Also, Bob's boring. This is a Board Game Rundown, and that unique, except for Bob, introduction was because we are covering a game called Comic Hunters. Now, this game specifically focuses on Marvel Comics, but as we were talking...
The comic books themselves.
Yes.
Not the actual comics.
Right, yeah.
Right.
So anyways, this is a game that plays from 1 to 4 players. I haven't tried solo mode. Ages 14 and up, you could probably play younger if you needed to. And in about 60 minutes. And I would say even with Teach, it could play in 60 minutes. Or if you just play with Spencer, it could take 60 minutes.
Yeah, I was actually surprised the first time we played. I was like, this game is not even close to 60 minutes. Like, it
Right.
played way faster. The second time with 4.
Yeah, we had another player, though,
longer
and it was a little
than
longer.
with 3.
But anyway, so in this game, you are collecting comic books. You're hunting out comic books and trying to build sets. The one of the unique things that this game does, it can feel fiddly because you've got all these little tokens with the symbols of the heroes. But what it is that is going to randomize the value of the different sets of comics each time you play. So the heroes that are available to collect are Spider-Man, or you got Black Widow.
I just want to hand Bob one that has as little green on it as possible.
Sure. So there's Black Widow, there's Spider-Man, Black Panther, Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, Thor, and Doctor Strange. So there's going to be various combinations of these characters that are going to come out. It represents like 3 ages of comics. So there's more recent, like from the 2000s up. There's like 80s and 90s comics. And then it basically goes to like your silver or golden age.
It never comes up in the game, but I actually think in the rule book, it also calls them modern silver and gold.
Yeah, it might. It was in Portuguese.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Right.
No, but in all seriousness, though, the rule book was in Portuguese. But this is my sister gave this game to me for Christmas. I am a big comic book fan, anyways. So this kind of hit a good spot, like just the good nexus of like things that I love. But yeah, she also did include an English rule book, but you can find it on BGG to print out very easily. But yes, so in this game, you're going to resolve basically 3 different days of collecting comics. And each day has its own specified sequence in which you're going to do it. So there's one round, the very first round, you are drafting cards. Actually, I want to say the correct name in English.
You know what that reminds me of, though, is cartographers. How you do like a scoring phase A, B, and C, and then you do B, C, and D.
That's
and then
correct,
You do C,
yeah.
D, and A. It's basically the same type
Oh,
of breakdown.
right. Yep. So the first location is the store. And now that one is going to be, they find and release the most recent comics. So that's 2000 to contemporary age.
The newest ones. Number one.
So those have a 1 value, and that would come into play later on in scoring or in the value as far as like playing them to your collection. But anyway, so the store is number 1. And when you resolve the store, you're going to draft 4. Everybody's going to get a hand of 4 cards out of the number 1 deck, and then you are going to pick one and pass it to either the left or the right,
Standard
depending
draft.
on the round, right? And so everybody's going to have 3 different cards in addition to the one they decide to keep.
Quick question: does it say it in the book to pass to the left first, or does it pass to the right first? I know we pass to the left, but that's kind of standard what we do. But
Let's
typically
see.
Portuguese pass to the right first when they play card games.
Oh,
and
really?
stuff. Yeah. Well, at least like all the Portuguese games I played growing up, it always went the other way.
Left in the first round,
Okay, just
or
wondering.
on the right in the second round.
Okay.
Maybe
It's been Americanized.
Maybe they Americanized it. So if you read it in the Portuguese rulebook,
Yeah,
it's
Right,
maybe,
it might say
yeah,
that.
it's different. That's
That'd be funny.
So then the next location is the flea market. And now this one is really interesting because what is going to happen is you're going to take cards from the modern age. So contemporary, modern is the 2 value.
Gotcha.
And then the 3 value is something different. We'll read there. But anyways, this one's really cool. This was a very unique mechanic that I've seen is basically you have the deck of cards and you're going to lay out, like basically you're going to lay out 4. And then you have a choice to either, this won't be right, but
You'll lay out the number equal to the player count.
Yes, you're going to, so in this case, a 4-player game. And then you can choose to add a card to one of these rows or pick up that whole row. Once you pick up the row, you're done. And then the next player gets that same choice. And so now you're looking, and then when you pick, if you decide to add a card to a row, you draw it, you look at it, and then you decide
What row to put it in.
what row you want to put it in up until one row has 4, you can't add anymore.
Yep.
But anyways, when you, so the interesting thing to consider is like, are you trying to set yourself up? Are you trying to make that row unappealing for somebody else? Like, I know Bob's got a lot of Black Panther cards. I don't want to put it with another Black Panther card because he will definitely want to take that. Or maybe there's icons of like the type of collection. And so I don't want to give somebody like the verses that's on there, right? Like I don't want to give somebody the verses that's on there, you know, or have a whole bunch of verses on there because that's really useful to anybody potentially.
As long as it's one of the ones they're looking for.
And we were really good at making every row terrible.
Right. I don't know. I got some good rows every once in a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's basically how you do that. And then everybody gets to go until they have picked up a row. Yep. And then the last one, also a friggin' crazy way to do this is the convention. And you do like a 5x5 grid, and you're gonna like you can slide a card. You can slide a card up
with a hole in the middle,
and then you can pick.
Right.
You're gonna pick basically one hero, and you're gonna take all of the cards for that hero in a row or column. And it does not have to be the card you moved. The card cannot move outside of the grid, but as people are picking up things, you are now building up interesting combinations of like how you can slide stuff around. Maybe you can get more than one card. And then it is also snake draft style. So, which Spencer had to do every time, thanks to Dan, was Spencer was the last one to go. So there were times where Spencer was taking one card just to then set up a big move where he could take a bunch of
double
cards.
slide is huge.
Yep.
So we can
probably won
effectively
the game.
say that Dan gave Spencer the game.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
First of all, I came in very close second, so I'll take
so
it.
congratulations.
You know,
You're not first, you're last, Dan.
I don't think that had anything to do with it. I actually think my position was the best each time. I do. Double move is great.
So you didn't play as well as Spencer then.
I just got lucky.
Yeah, giant sets.
I'll just play it.
Those
I'll just
giant
joke.
sets are crazy.
No, it's great. It's great. I think both times that we've seen the winner in this game, it has been the largest set.
That's done it for him.
Yeah, because didn't you win last time
I did.
we played? Or was it you?
Dan
Did you
won.
have the largest set? Maybe
Bob
not.
did.
I
then.
had the largest set.
No. Okay. I stand corrected. So that's two different.
You're a
mine was the
liar.
most.
But I also messed up because I thought it was 8 was the max. So I looked at
Right,
the
so
wrong
you
one.
stopped
when you
Stopped
could
at
have
8
kept
when I should have
going.
gone to 12.
But mine was the most expensive set. Was also largest.
Yeah,
set.
the most valuable.
Yeah.
Same thing in the last game.
Right.
But it didn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Now, it could have affected play style, blah, blah, blah. First game doesn't count unless you win.
right.
You didn't win, so it didn't
Didn't
count.
count.
I still don't have a game that counts.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
I haven't played this yet.
So, anyways, that is how the convention is resolved. And then there is the online auction, the website.
It's probably a website, right?
Yep. So that is
yeah.
that is the classic age. So there is modern, contemporary, and classic. And the classic age comics, those are going to be the oldest comics. They have a value of 3. So that's either going to cost 3 to add to your collection, which we'll get to, or it could give you bonuses down here. So anyways, the auction is pretty straightforward. There's going to be a number of rows, and then it's like 3, 4, 4, and it depends on player count. So it could be 3, 4, 4, 3 in a 4-player game. And then basically we've got this secret stash track up here, and you're going to bid how many of those. Now those are victory points at the end of the game. So you're going to bid those basically to take maybe the biggest row. Maybe you just want that small row, so you don't care. You might just hold out and just bid
wait.
one and get the small row. And so you're going to bid on that. And so you're going to do this 3 times, but you're not going to do every one each time. I guess you do the convention every time. That's the only one you do every time.
Each time.
But that order is basically fixed each day. Like that is not a variable on here. The variables are going to come into play with what sets
Who they're
are the
looking
most
for.
valuable, who they're looking for, and then what kind of comics. So it might be like a first appearance. It might be a #1 edition. It might be like a new look. It might be a versus match, things like that.
Special edition.
Special edition. Yeah. So the comics that are going to have, they're going to have different icons on those cards. So you might play a game where the eyeballs don't mean anything, right? Like that, who cares? Doesn't matter.
Right.
But our first game, first editions were like the big card, right? After that, like when on our second game, nobody cared
Didn't
about
matter.
nobody cared about #1 issues.
Yep.
Or whatever. And so you go through all the rounds, and then you just go through the score pad and resolve the scoring. The score pad does a really good job of just breaking down, like you score this, then you score this, then you score this,
Yep.
go boom, 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 add them all up. Most points at the end of the game wins.
Really quick, important thing, Bob, put a card on there for me really quick, is that the number you'll see in the bottom left corner there has a triple purpose, which is fascinating.
It's so
Yeah.
crazy.
So first of all,
Oh, yeah, we didn't even
that
talk
number.
about-
What is it? I can't see it. A 3. So
We didn't
first
even
of all,
talk about adding to your collection.
right. So first of all, the 3 is going to be the price of that card to add to your collection. So if you want to add that card to your collection, you have to discard other cards that equal 3 as well, because that is not only the cost, but that is also the
What it's worth to trade.
yeah,
or
what it's
whatever.
worth. I can't think of an
Yeah,
efficient
a trade
word.
value.
Trading it out.
Trade
and-
value.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I could turn in 3 1s and play that 3 or another 3 for that 3, right? Basic math. And then the third thing that's used for is actually a multiplier for the icons that are on it. Again, because of the camera position, I can't see what icons are on it right now. Thank you. So that would count as 3 verses on that card as well for the track down here. So that plays a lot into, as you're playing your sets, you're kind of having to math out your hand and be like, well, I really want to play these 4 cards. That equals 11. In order to play those, I need to discard these cards that have a cost of 11, right? And that goes into the playing of the sets.
Yeah, and so to get into that a little bit, at the end of each day, you're going to build your collection. And so by building your collection, you are going to put cards down in front of you. And like Dan just said, they have a cost. You have to pay that cost. You can carry over 2 cards to the next round. And then also, though, those icons are going to act as multipliers based on what you're looking for, like what the desired comics are. So, you know, if I've got a 3 with an eyeball, oh, hey, look, eyeballs are good. That's going to move me up. And then at the end of the game, that's going to score based on majority, like
Yep.
high spot.
Only other things are a couple little add-on rules to that, and that is that to play a set, you have to have at least 2. To score a set at the end of the game, it has to be at least 3, so you'll have to add another card to it if you played a 2. And while playing sets, you can slide cards around from existing sets, but just realize that you're only scoring or you're only updating these on the ones played this turn. So the
new
rulebook
ones.
had actually suggested to play all your new sets above all your old ones, score them, and then slide them down, and then basically you can
Rearrange.
manipulate cards however you want at that
And
point.
that worked perfectly.
And
Yeah.
I
that
don't think
whole
we ever had any confusion.
and the
or-
reason the manipulate thing comes up is because I guess, Bob, if you can
Yeah,
show
show
one
that
like
one.
that off, that one has 2 things on it. That can be a Hulk or a Doctor Strange. Sorry, Hulk's green. You can't see it. Didn't think about that. But that is
over your face.
yeah. But that is a Hulk and a Doctor Strange. So I might be building my Hulk and then realize later in the game that my Doctor Strange is better. Well, there you go.
It's a Hulk and
Whatever.
a Thor.
bunch
So
of
you
other
can
people.
slide it from one to another if you want to really get those late game points. Anyway.
Yeah, very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I don't understand though, because you can just count up all the ones you have in your collection at the end of the game. It's going to have the same number.
Correct. That's true.
So
It is.
I guess
but
it's for you to keep
It's good to
track
know
for
though
people.
Well,
where
like later
you're.
Yeah.
on, you get like, oh, I got a bunch of Black Panther, so I'm going to slide that one out of here and make that one and tick it up to the next set
yeah,
of
I
larger
know that people
scoring.
can look and be like,
Yeah, because you
he's
need to
got a lot
know.
of those. I wanna
It
take
also
it.
is helpful to know where other people are at, because it might be like, I am so far behind on this,
Right.
so
You-
drafting
I
that
don't
one
need that
is
eyeball.
no
Yeah.
good for me really, and I
New,
could just
new
focus
look.
on something else to try to have a higher
Correct.
point
Yep.
majority.
And that's why I was actually trying to. I'll go into this in final thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, let's go into components then.
sure.
So components for this game, in my opinion, are amazing. I will say my cards are sleeved. The card quality is like okay. It's not amazing. So for the amount of shuffling that you will do with this, even though you do play your cards out in front of you and they stay on the table, they're not really in your hand, but you shuffle these cards so much, I would recommend sleeving them.
Yes.
100%.
Definitely these.
Just like you do your comics.
Again,
Right.
you're going to be like,
Bag
exactly.
and
It's
board.
going to be one of those like, like a fancy, I need gloves
Yeah,
on,
yeah, yeah,
like with an
tweezers.
actual, tweezers. There you go.
But rounded so it doesn't dimple the.
Right.
Yeah. The other main component, I guess, is the check mark here, which you use to keep track of the rounds. It's fine. I like
fine.
it. It's like a checklist. It symbolizes that you're doing your checklist. And then you've got your little score mark, your player markers,
Plain little
whatever.
cardboard
They are
chits.
functional.
Yep.
And then you've got the other little chits that are the icons.
Mm-hmm.
Because this game is, we joke about it being in Portuguese, but it is pretty much language independent once you understand the icons.
Well, yeah, even these words, they're just telling you which one of these to
A,
do,
B,
which
C.
are
Yeah,
then
they got
icons.
ABCD on them. Come in.
So it's just theme.
Yeah, yeah. But the tokens are fine. You could be subject to jostling, so
Yes.
So you would need to be aware of that. But it does not make or break anything for me in this game. And really, though, right? We're bearing the lead. The superstar of the components is the actual cards
Actual
themselves.
comics. Yeah.
For
Are
sure.
all
I even personally don't like including that in components. It's artwork. The
Yeah,
cards
that's
are the
part of it.
component.
Well,
sure,
know?
sure.
But,
Well, okay. Well, as far as the components, the artwork in this game is great.
Yes.
Because it's all directly from the comics.
Right,
Right.
which
The
also
covers.
the only problematic thing is it really means that this game will not get a U.S. release. in its current form, probably because of the cost of the IP.
Maybe they can do a multiverse spinoff.
But you never
Sentinels
know.
of the multiverse.
I
There
mean,
you go. Show that one off.
you never
See,
know, though. I mean, the op and I mean.
But the other cool
I
thing
guess,
about it,
I guess if the op or somebody or Cryptozoic or somebody that's got already access to Marvel
yeah, they could do it.
IPs,
Sure.
they could pick this up and print
but
this.
you see at the bottom, it tells you the exact comic it's from.
Right.
oh yeah,
And the year it came from. So if you are a collector of comic books,
You can go out and get
you're
it.
going to be drooling over this game.
Yeah.
That's true, and that is going to go really far, by the way, because the version of this game that we have, this is retail, right?
Yes.
Okay, because it's going to depend for you people out there. You can see everything out on the table. We have a top-down camera. You can see everything.
These are not
What you care, right? Those are 3 printed. What you care about is going to be your thing. So we can talk about components slightly and stuff like that, but really at the end of the day, like for example, Tim, first sentence was components are amazing. I disagree. Components are terrible. The components are terrible here. The rule book we had to print on paper. This board it folds up, even though it's new, right?
Bob, do you like the shape of this rulebook?
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
fine.
comic
Sure.
book.
These
It's a little
chits are nothing to write home about. The 3D printed check mark is fine.
It's not a 3D printed check mark. It's a
acrylic.
legit check mark. It's an acrylic check mark.
Sure.
How they made it, maybe they 3D printed
Exactly.
it. But by saying 3D printed implies that we made this at home. So I don't want to imply that. This is a check
It's an
mark that
acrylic.
comes
It
in the
came with
box of the game.
Came with the game.
Sure. I did not say it didn't. But
No, I just said 3D printed implies that.
to you
Somebody
it did, so you
printed.
can bring it up.
Yeah.
It doesn't to me. So it just depends on what you care about. The artwork is fantastic. But to say the components are amazing is ridiculous to me personally. I mean,
I'm sorry I offended you.
no, this is where we all state our opinions, Tim.
Yeah.
And they're not good. But the point is they don't get in the way of the game. It doesn't matter. So it's going to depend. Someone might say, like, I don't want to own that because of the way it looks. That's totally fine. That's up to you. But if you're in it because the artwork is great and you like set collection, that is what really matters here.
So the components to me are amazing because I love the artwork on the cards so much. I enjoy the cards so much.
He's like, I used to have this one.
I
I have
love
this one
the.
too.
I don't mind the icons here. This does not bother me. I think the board is great.
No, the
I
board
think
is well laid out.
laid
Sure.
out perfectly
Yeah.
and explains everything. I appreciate the. In this is components. I appreciate that you basically are modifying the game you're playing each time because you have the ability to change out what
End game stuff is
what
scoring.
the end game stuff is. That's all component based. These components, whatever, they suck. They do what they do, but they are functional and they do not detract from my experience.
Okay.
Yep.
So I mean, we can agree to disagree, but I think the things that it does really well, and then the things that it lacks a little bit, to me, in my opinion, feel more nitpicky. I also do love the first player token, which is Stanley's glasses,
Yeah.
which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
The highlight's definitely the actual art from comic books that people will see and recognize and have that nostalgic feel for them.
Right. And if you don't like my printed out rule book, you can print out one that looks nicer.
Yeah, or just leave it on your phone and read it from there. Because once you've read it, you don't really need the book.
Right. Right.
This,
but
you just need this.
But I will say rule book, right? Going through the version here, it is similar to this, and the rule book was laid out very well and in a way that we could find all the information we needed very quickly and easily.
Helps having set things, right? So they literally know the order they need to explain
Yeah,
things in,
yeah.
based on how often it happens and when it happens. Very smart system.
Yeah, really, really good. Do we want to just go into final thoughts then?
Sure.
Bobby,
Yeah.
what do you think?
It's fun. It's set collection. I wasn't a big comic book person. I mean, like, I enjoy Marvel. I like a lot of the stuff they do. I like the characters and whatnot. But like, I think there was one comic book that I collected, and it was an indie one that nobody's ever heard of.
Milk and cheese?
No, it's called I, Lucifer. But
Okay.
anyways, but it was fun. It was interesting. Like, at the board, I would like counter bend it the other way. I know Tim's a little hesitant to do that because he doesn't want to like damage or anything. But like, I
Right.
don't care how it warps like that a little bit. But it happens with all types of games, right? But especially when they're new, the creases want to stay. You got to kind of work that out. Super interesting mechanics, right? Like, as upset as I was as having to go first every time on the convention, it is a really neat mechanic in the way that works. Like the way you can slide a card if you want. You're trying to get rows and columns of like the people you want or try to block somebody. I think that's super interesting and unique. The adding a card or taking a row is cool. Then once you take a row, you're done. So like, oh man, there's only 3 in there, but there's 2 cards I really want, so you can snag it before somebody else does, which is what I should have done because then Dan snagged the one that I wanted one time. So yeah, it does some really interesting things that some set collecting games don't do. So I'll give that to it. But like, I'm not head over heels for it because I'm not, like I said, not that huge into the comic books. I don't have that nostalgic feel that pulls me in to really want to collect that certain one that I really want, you know. And so I enjoyed the game. I think it was fun, but not my favorite all time game by any means.
Oh sure, sure. Spencer.
Multi-use cards. So yeah.
Classic Spencer.
Come on. I mean, yeah, so the cards, use them to pay for the other cards. And there are 2 different kinds of sets you're collecting. You're collecting the things from down here, and you're collecting what character it is.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's just so many different things for one card. So, I mean, that's my final thought. I like that.
There's like 6 different things you're doing.
No, I know.
Yeah,
It's
it is
fantastic.
So
crazy.
many things.
And I also really love that it's...
I thought he said he was done.
Well, I was, but then you reminded me.
Objection.
Objection. Well, the fact that the 3s are the old ones because they're going to be more valuable. The 2s are
right.
the ones. Yeah, I
Right.
love
Thematically,
that.
it all makes sense.
Thematically, it's perfect. And the way you would find them is perfect. It has the A, B, A, C, B, C. So that way you get every combination as possible.
Yep.
I think it's well made.
Sorry, Dan. Spencer took all of your time.
That was my final thoughts. Yeah, I'm like Bob. I don't care at all about comic books and comic book collecting and stuff like that. I will say, I'm trying to think. You guys jut in. Is this the only pure set collection game that I've played? I don't know if I've...
know.
Yeah, I'm just saying, are there any like popular ones you can think of that you've played or something? Because I don't know if I've ever played a pure set collection game where that's all
That
you're doing.
Santa's Helper one?
Yeah.
Technically, yes.
Dice
point.
Miner, straight up set
There we
collection.
go. There we go.
That's drafting and set collection.
So that was interesting. Just like, and I love, so you talk about multi-use cards. I tend to really like, for some reason, where a game has like mini games that you're doing in it. And that's like what this one is based around. It's just like, okay, now we're doing a bid, and now we're doing a draft, and now we're doing I don't know what to call that thing. A 5x5.
Yeah, the
It's
convention.
A 5x5 slide thing. That thing needs its own name. You know, like action crafting.
Right.
There needs to be some name for this.
Julia, get on that.
slide,
Yeah, right.
slide scoop mechanic. That's
Grid.
going
That's
on.
not as catchy.
Yeah, the S&S.
Even less so. Even less so. No.
That sounds wrong.
me. Yeah, so I had a good time with the set collection of the thing. While I don't care about the comic books, I do enjoy Marvel. I do like Captain America. I do like Doctor Strange. I do like certain characters, whether I know all of their stories from the comic books or not.
Oh,
you
sure.
know, that's not me. But yeah, the way that you're trying to, so not only mini games out here, but then you're also trying to juggle all these. Well, I want my sets to be really long, especially the higher ones. My lower ones I don't need to be as long, but maybe I get a bunch of lower ones to try to get these points instead. And then trying to take advantage of these tracks. Do I go crazy on one and ignore one, or do I try to kind of be in that, like, it's better to come in second place in all 3 than first place on one and third place on the rest, right? Like, so like, how do you work out that math? There's just a lot of little mini games going on here that I think are just really cool and make a unique experience than anything I've done before, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean everything you guys said. I really enjoy the set collection aspect of this.
Yeah.
This is such a pure set collection game. The way you do it is really, for me, what like puts this game over the top and makes this game fun and makes me want to play it again is because, like Dan said, it's like 4 different mini games in here that you're trying to figure out how to do. I mean, drafting, whatever, it's the most basic one. It's fine. It's interesting because it kind of does get you started a little bit. Like, okay, what am I going to do with these? But just the like we had especially the second auction we had in the game that got like really exciting.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the convention,
back and forth.
the suspense of the columns, like the flea market where you're doing the columns, right? The suspense of that is like really fun because it's like, oh, it's gonna be a good card come out? Do I take that?
That also feels like the most unique pick, you choose. What is that? I split, you choose.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It feels like the most unique version of that to me in my head, like because that's not what it is. But at the same time,
roundabout
you're
it
making
is.
it like that. Like
and
I'm
you're-
gonna put this card here. If it comes back to me, maybe I'll take it. You don't know. Maybe I
It's a
don't
little,
want that.
it's a
Like,
little push your lucky. You're also
Oh,
like
yeah.
maybe like baiting the other players to try to take stuff so
Yeah.
that
Sure.
you can leave the column you want.
That's true too. You might purposely put a third Thor in that thing so that you're like, okay, well that eliminates Bob. He's not going to take the
Right.
row I want now. That's
Right.
true.
No,
Right,
I had
and
to
he's-
stop you from taking all of them because there was one time every single row except one was one you wanted.
Oh,
And I had to be like, well, I really want this card, but I got to put it with the crap because Tim's going to take it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did. No, but so all of those things I really enjoy with this game. There was sort of for me, a freshness to this game with the way that it plays. Now, yes, I don't anymore, but I used to collect, and I still have a ton of comic books, especially modern age, and then I forget what they called the other one, not Silver Age, or maybe it was Silver Age. Anyways,
Number 2s.
I mean, just from like 70s up to early 2000s,
Like
I've got
contemporary,
I've got a
is that
ton of comic books, and then I stopped collecting comic books basically the same time I stopped playing Magic, and then got into board games. So all that comic book money went into board games.
Right.
But no, so there is extra appeal and nostalgia for me there, but that it does not alone make a game, right? And so the interesting thing to me is a game like this. There's so much room for expansion because you could do other comic companies, right? You don't have to just do Marvel. You could
sure.
you could do Indie, you could do DC, you could do EC, you could do whatever Image. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
there's all kinds of different comic book companies that you could run through and just do that as an expansion. And with Marvel and DC, you could just even do character packs, right? Where it's like, we're going to add these 4 characters. So now you've got even more
More
characters,
cards and-
and cards and different things you could do. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Now we would need a game company with, access to those rights to pick this game up. So as of right now, I mean, originally I was like, this will never get made in the US, but like the Op has a bunch of rights to Marvel stuff. CMON has rights to Marvel stuff, Fantasy Flight, I guess that's technically CMON, right? Asmodee. So anyways, there are avenues of possibility, right? It would just be, how they decide to do it. And also though, when you gain those rights, you have access to different things, and comic book covers might be a unique thing versus the actual
Sure.
character. So I don't know how they resolve and work all that out. But anyways, as it is, I just really enjoyed this game. For all of the unique things and it all comes together very well. It doesn't feel clunky for having all of the different kind of mechanics that are in here to get your sets.
Sure.
It all blends very well and feels very thematic and meshes all together very nicely for me. Okay, so let's go into final score. Dan,
Damn it.
how do we do our final scores?
Hi, we're all going to rank this game from 1 to 10, and then we're going to average them all together at the end so that we have one number.
Oh, interesting. Why don't we go in order of final thoughts then?
Okay. I think I'm gonna try and debate back and forth. I think I'm gonna fall on a 7.5. I really enjoy the mechanics in here, and the card artwork that you're saying is very great. I'm gonna fall on a 7.5. I would recommend it, and I would play it again.
I also would definitely play this again, and I will fall on an 8.
Nice. There's a lot of positives here that mix with a lot of negatives to me. I have fun playing the game, for sure. But I just have to think about, it's not something I'm going to want to play super often. The type of crunchy thinking that goes on isn't always for me. It's also a bit mathy, which we haven't said. Not like bad math, but you're just constantly trying to multiply small numbers together to think about what you're going to gain. So that's just not always for me. I don't love the components. If you separate art, that is amazing. I don't love the components. And for what you're getting, because of importation, it's just a bit pricey. And so all those things I just kind of have this interesting balance going on for me that I think I'm going to fall on a 7. I don't dislike the game at all. I have thoroughly enjoyed it both time I've played. But to say because I enjoyed it, it's like a 9 out of 10 is just a bit of a disservice to you, I think. I think if I'm actually rating this game on what I think it deserves, it's going to be around a 7 for me.
Sure. I come down on a 9. I can teach this game. I can teach this game very easily. I can get this game played. I think people will automatically be interested because of the comic book theme, which is very accessible and very popular right now. Yes, unfortunately, it is hard to get. But I do feel like the people that want to have this game will get their hands on this game.
Well, comic book collectors can afford.
Just, buy,
Only if they stop, collecting comics.
well, just for like a week. And then you go back. But no, this game does so many things right. It actually does. It's way more complex than it feels, especially when you're teaching it. And this is one of those games where I could teach my in-laws and they're not even going to realize how complex of a game that they're playing.
Right. Well, this goes into, you said you could probably go lower than 14, and it's like you could. They won't win.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
There's just a lot more strategy than you might think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But I think, I think that there's an accessibility to this game on the learning level that will introduce people to a lot of other concepts and also some that I've never seen in any other game. And so the uniqueness of that also bolsters my score.
So if we take all of our scores and we average them together, 7.9.
Heyo! Making
shabby.
Spencer the victor with his 8.
Oh, he went over.
No, I went over.
Oh. Dun, 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 dun.
It's Bob.
Dum, 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 dum.
Yeah, no, this is a really, I think we all had fun, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of the rating or your thoughts on components or whatever. We all had a good time with this. And I get what you're saying.
Sure. It's in the top 30% of games according to my score still. I don't see that as an insult at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think we all had a really good time with this.
Yeah.
Anything else before we sign off?
I think so.
My real name's Steve Rogers.
Okay.
Secret's out.
Well, for the board game rundown, I've been Peter Barker.
Hey, I was Spider-Man.
This is so stupid. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Oh. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, you're right. I am Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Where's Bucky?
He gone.
No.